Hey everyone, welcome back to Great Sports Debates. Let's jump right in with the power rankings. We're getting down to the end here, week 16. At 32, big surprise, it's the Carolina Panthers. The big surprise is that they actually won their game. So, mental note for you guys betting on the game, sometimes it is good to wait, check the weather. There's inclement weather, it was low scoring, and the Panthers found a way to win. At 31, we got the New England Patriots. They went back to reality. Bailey Zappi started out pretty well again. So, I don't know if he's the answer, but he definitely looks like a better solution than Mac Jones. This is a team that's going to need a lot of things everywhere, though. At 30, we got the Arizona Cardinals. So, they got 3 wins on the season. They do have Kyler Murray. They seem to have a pretty good offensive line, and they can run the ball. So maybe if they draft well, this is a team that could turn it around, be middle of the pack next year. At 29, it's the Washington Commanders. They came back and scored some garbage points late and made it competitive, but, they wound up doing what Washington does. They're now 4-10 on the season. At 28, we got the New York Jets. They are 5-9 and back to reality, getting smacked around again. The offense couldn't get that same spark and looked like they've done most of the year doing absolutely nothing at all. And the defense finally bends and breaks. Of course, you're playing in Miami. That's going to happen. At 27, it's the Tennessee Titans. They played Houston in a good game, with Houston missing a lot of pieces, as we talked about in our pick segment last week. And they wanted to made a game of it, but lost in overtime. At 26, we got the G-Men. They've been hot as of lately, or as hot as a team as bad as the Giants can be. Despite their deficiencies at quarterback, offensive line, and kind of everywhere all around, they've been doing okay despite dropping their game this week. At 25, we got the Chargers. We got to see Thursday how much of an impact it makes when Keenan Allen's out. We talked about that in the pick segment last week. We said we like the Raiders, especially if Herbert didn't play, and Allen didn't play, and a bunch of guys didn't play. And you saw how that turned out. At 24, we got the Atlanta Falcons. They have a really good opportunity with the division that they play in, but they fumbled the ball and cost us a little bit of money this week too, losing to the lowly Panthers. So that's never good. But, Atlanta still has hope, at least of making the playoffs if they can win that really bad division. At 23, we got the Chicago Bears. They've been pretty tough of late since they've unleashed Justin Fields and have him running the ball a little more. They gave Cleveland everything they had. They had a few bad breaks that probably cost them that game. But I feel like they were in charge most of that game, and it came down to the wire. At 22, we got the Green Bay Packers. They dropped a game against Tampa Bay, and I thought this was a game Green Bay should win if they wanted to be serious about making the playoffs. But they weren't even really competitive. Tampa Bay was moving the ball and scoring at will on them. At 21, we got the New Orleans Saints, who at 7-7 are tied for the lead in the worst division in football. They've been pretty ordinary, and if you look at their schedule so far, the games are 7-7. It's arguably the softest schedule in the league. Next up at number 20, we got Seattle Seahawks. They haven't got beat by Philly yet as of recording this. Now, of course, since I said that, they'll probably be jinxed and they'll win. But they are 6-7 and clinging to hope to make the playoffs. as thin as that scenario may be. At 19, we got the Las Vegas Raiders at 6-8, but playing pretty well as of late. Really, since the coaching change, as we've talked about in previous episodes, they put a beating on the Chargers, and if they can keep winning, I can see them making some big jumps in the rankings. 63 points for a team that scored like just over 20 once or twice is pretty impressive. At 18 is the Steelers, and honestly, we could have them lower as the power ranking kind of show how they're playing right now, and how they're playing right now is kind of what we've been saying all year. We expected them to be really terrible on offense and pretty good on defense. And this last week, the run defense just wasn't there. So not sure what's happening there. I know they have some injuries they were dealing with. But, most of those were safety and secondary guys. But either way, Pittsburgh's looked like historically bad the last 3 weeks. So they probably should be lower than 18. But, this is still a team that's clinging to a playoff spot. At 17, we got the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm pretty sure they control their own destiny in the NFC South division. They're 7-7 and had coming off a big win against the Green Bay Packers. At 16, we got the Minnesota Vikings. They played a close game this week. Mullins, I think, kind of cost them. He had several bad decisions from, throwing interceptions to just putting several balls up for grab. They should have just taken the sack or thrown away, and they probably would have won that game. But they're 7-7, and they are in the hunt for a playoff spot as well. At 15 is the Denver Broncos. They came back to earth. They got thumped by the Detroit Lions. Maybe that was a bad matchup. It looked like Detroit was just trying to take away the run, and Russell Wilson made them pay for it a few times, but not enough to be competitive in the game. At 14 is the Colts. This is a tough team to figure out. They made some good goal line stands. They got a strong offensive line. They can run the ball pretty well, and Gardner Minshew is playing well enough to maybe get them into a run for a playoff spot. At 13 is the Bengals. They didn't look great, but came on late to wind up stealing the game. And they're still in the hunt at 8-6. At 12 is the Houston Texans. They found a way to win against Titans team with a ton of people out. Maybe they get C.J. Stroud back next week. And we'll see if they can make a late season push with just 3 games left to go. At 11 is the Cleveland Browns. They escaped with a victory against the Bears. They're 9-5 at this point. So, regardless, Flacco did make some bad decisions, and it, at least one interception I saw, and another 1 or 2 that could have been. But despite that, he still looks better than the other 3 quarterbacks that they played this year, sorry to say, which all year has been the weak point on that team, which is going to have me leery of trusting them come playoff time. At 10 is the Rams. I know they're 7-7, but this team's been hot lately. They've been scoring points in bunches, and this is a team that I don't think anybody wants to play come playoff time, if they find a way to even get in there. They're not in there as of today. At 9 is Jacksonville. They're playing Baltimore tonight. I think this is a game that Baltimore's going to slightly cover, but Jacksonville's a good enough team that they could beat Baltimore, so we'll see what happens there. Trevor Lawrence hasn't taken the step that I thought he might this year. And honestly, his mistakes kind of hold them back sometimes. So that's a team that is pretty good on the offensive line. They can run the ball okay. They got some good wide receivers. And they got playmakers on defense. At 8 is Kansas City. I know they won their game this week, and this is still the lowest we've had them all year. Just being honest of like the wide receivers, the drops, the mistakes, they haven't looked like Kansas City. That isn't to say that this isn't the top roster, or even if it's not, they still have Patrick Mahomes. And that doesn't mean that I don't think this team could get hot and make a strong playoff run. But, you know, right now we got to be honest, and there's some teams that simply look better. At 7 is the Detroit Lions. They're coming in at 10-4. They came off of a big win, and their defense didn't look absolutely terrible, which is a good change because their defense has been really bad in, I don't know, like 5 of their last 6 games or so. So if that's something that they can figure out, maybe they can even move forward and up the tier ladder, which would be nice, especially there was reports that CJ Garner might be back, who was a huge part of their defense early on in the year before he got hurt. At 6 is the Philadelphia Eagles. This is the other team that I think this is the lowest I've had them all year. Again, this is a team I'm going to trust because they have a strong offensive and defensive line play. But I've been concerned with their defensive line just not being able to stop the run. And they've just looked really bad the last 2 to 3 weeks. So, for now, we got Philadelphia here, even though I think that that's a team that could be in the mix come playoff time. At 5 is the Dallas Cowboys. I know they just got smoked by Buffalo, but like we say every week, Buffalo is a team that can destroy anybody when they're clicking on all cylinders. And the way they beat Dallas definitely surprised me. I thought this was a game that Dallas would win, especially the way that they've been playing as late. But we're not going to drop Dallas too far because they've had just too many really good performances this year to drop further than 5. At 4 is Buffalo, which I know some people are going to say sounds high at 8-6. And most people have said I've had too high all year. But, you know, just the last couple of weeks, you've seen that they've beat down really good teams like Kansas City and Dallas. Call a good game. They're tough to beat. You know, if they can run the ball as well as they have a lot of times when I've watched them this year, that's the one thing I don't understand is why they don't just run the ball more. And they did that in this game, you know. If Cook is picking up 5-6 yards a pop, just keep handling the ball. Make the defense do something different. At 3, we got Miami. You know, this is kind of a toss-up there. I know Buffalo beat them earlier in the season, and that's going to be a game that decides some things. You know, interestingly enough, I think Buffalo controls their own destiny, or maybe they need Miami to drop one. But either way, this is going to be a good run down the mix to kind of see who's what, where. You know, the Miami loss to Tennessee 2 weeks ago kind of threw me off a little bit, but they came back and blew out the Jets this weekend. But the Miami-Buffalo game is definitely one to watch to kind of see who's going to be looking tough coming out of the AFC. At 2, I got Baltimore right now. They just look too consistent. They've been really good on defense. Lamar Jackson can do a lot of different things, and he's got playmakers that can run the ball and catch the ball. So I think what people forget come playoff time is he's been hurt the last few years. I think if they get all their offensive linemen back and healthy, they might be able to make a run. This game against Jacksonville, I think, is going to tell a lot about where they stand going forward. And I think they have a couple of tough games on their slate to finish up. And then obviously at number 1 is San Francisco. They just look super dominant. You know, if you didn't place your bets when we talked about earlier for them in the Super Bowl, it's like 2-1 now, so it's not even worthwhile. But those are our picks. That's what we got for the power rankings this week. As always, I appreciate you guys' feedback. So let me know in the comment section who we got too high, who's too low, and why. As always, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll have the picks versus the spread coming out in the next few days. Thanks a lot.